Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you all are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? You are knowing what you are wanting. It's an ever-changing thing, isn't it? You are appreciating the contrast of your time and place? Not really. We've noticed that the less contrast there is, the more you say, oh yes, contrast is a good thing. But the more contrast there is, the more you lie when you say yes. Because what most of you really mean is, when things are going very well, so there are good things that I can observe, then I feel good, and therefore my life is good. But if there are things happening out there that when I look at them I feel bad, then it's easy for me to fall into the category that so many people fall of now wanting someone to control the conditions or circumstances so that there's not so much edge there. So that I can just blindly, without any self-willpower whatsoever, look anywhere I want and I will find only good things. And we say the problem with that approach to feeling good is that you have to get pretty good at limiting your environment. And your ability to limit your environment is limited, isn't it? In fact, it's an impossible thing. You cannot control the circumstances that are around you other than the ones that you are creating through your own vibration. And so if you are observing primarily the conditions that are surrounding you that you are creating through your own vibration, which is a nicer way of saying mind your own business, then your life can go along swimmingly. But if you are looking all around the world, sticking your nose in everybody's business, concerned about events that are happening everywhere, and needing those outside of your control events to be controlled so that you can feel better, now you're in deep trouble, for you will never get it done. Because the basis of this universe defies that. This is a universe that is expanding. And in that expansion, there will always be something that you don't understand or that you don't want to participate in. That's the beauty of a well-stocked universe. It's like a well-stocked kitchen. The more ingredients that are available, the more potential for lovely things you have. But if you get into that cupboard and you say, oh, let's throw this out, let's throw this out, let's throw this out because I don't want it in my pie, now you're in that control phase, and it is impossible because you don't get to decide what the ingredients in the universe are. You get to choose which ones you put in your pie, however. So when we say to you, it is a very good thing for you to pay attention to the way you feel, what we're saying to you is, if you're paying attention to the way you feel, now you are aware of the ingredients that you've got your hands on that you're about to dump into your pie. It's a nice thing when you discover that you have the ability to give your attention deliberately. And by doing so, you offer a vibration deliberately, which is your point of attraction. It's such a nice thing when you reach the place, and many of you are already there, many of you are upon the brink of it, where you no longer fear the content of your time-space reality, because you know that while there are things out there that you may not want to experience, they cannot assert themselves into your experience. So once you really discover and practice it firsthand, show yourself that what you're thinking causes a responding feeling and ultimately a responding manifestation. So by being more deliberate about the way you direct your thoughts, now you are more directing how you feel, and you are also more directive of your point of attraction, and therefore you are controlling your own personal experience. Once you begin to do that, then, and from what we've seen of most of you, only then, do you lose your fear of what others may be creating, and are you then able to step into the phase which you've come to expand and experience powerfully, which is the phase of allowing. What allowing means is you are extensions of source energy. Do you hear how important that is? You are not separated from it. You are not lesser than it. You are extensions of source energy. And when you are allowing, hear the word allowing, the fullness of who you are to flow through you, that's when you are who you intended to be. That's when you are you. You see a little child? You say he's full of himself? Exactly. So when you are allowing the fullness of who you are to flow, you'll feel wonderful. Your emotions are your allowing meter. The better you feel, the more you are allowing who you are to flow. The worse you feel, the more you are pinching it off. Now that's not really the perfect way to speak it in your understanding of physics. It's more like you have chosen a frequency by your attention to some subject, and by including that frequency in your vibrational mix, you have a distorted signal going on in your receiver, which is not allowing you the full reception of who you really are. Who you really are never goes away from you, and it never goes out of range. It never gets upset with you. It's never discouraged that you've been missing for so long. It's never punishing you for what you did before. It's always there, ready for you to receive. You've just got to set your receiver in the proper mode in order to receive. So the easiest way to understand this business of deliberately creating your own life experience is to understand that the creative process is really 3 steps. Step 1 is asking. And we don't necessarily mean with your words, while you could use words. But the asking that we're talking about is that desire that forms within you. Sometimes it happens on a cellular level. It is what happens when any perspective, and there are trillions of those perspectives in your body. The one-celled amoeba in the ocean has perspectives. When the perspective is having an experience, and all perspectives are, and from that comparative experience, it naturally concludes preference. The universe is selfishly motivated, because every perspective is always reaching for the very best thing for itself. When all perspectives are asking for the very best thing for self, everything thrives. Sometimes physical beings have gotten so screwy on this topic because they think that there is this little pile of well-being somewhere, and that if some selfish being selfishly desires a lot, that then it will prevent others from having. And so you think of this selfishness, which is nothing more than the perspective from self that you were born with and is the basis of the universe. You think of it as a bad thing because you think your selfishness might deprive someone else of something, or someone else's selfishness might deprive you or others of something. And it cannot be, because this expansive universe has the ability to answer every single desire every time it is identified. So step 1 is ask. And asking happens. You can't stop it from happening, no matter how hard you try, no matter how humble and modest and depriving in nature you have trained yourself to be. You will never, ever, ever be able to stop asking. Even the cells in your body are asking. You are born to ask. Step 1, asking. Step 2 is not your work. Step 2 is where God force, source energy, whatever you want to call it, universal forces, law of attraction, source energy, answers the request. And that happens instantaneously, faster than the speed of light. So when you ask, it is answered. It is given to you. The question is, what are you doing about step 3? And step 3 is the receiving mode. In other words, if you're asking, and you are, and source energy is answering, and it is, and there is something that you've been wanting that you are not yet living, it can only be because some adjustment in step 3 is necessary. Step 3 is your letting it in mode. Step 3 is your being in the vibrational place where you let in what you're asking for. It is important for you to recognize that you get to choose. Sometimes as we watch you, we know that you get carried away with a thought. And sometimes the thought that is spoken the most often around you, that becomes the most familiar, even though when you first heard it, it did not feel right. As you allow yourself to hear it longer and longer and longer, you become less and less aware of really how uncomfortable the thought is. You have an expression for that. You say, do the uncomfortable thing long enough and it becomes comfortable. which sounds to you like it translates out to say, do the resisting thing long enough and the resistance will go away. That's not true. You could do the resisting thing long enough that you numb yourself to the discomfort because the discomfort feels so normal that you don't notice your guidance system anymore. But you will never do an uncomfortable thing long enough to get into the receiving mode. It just cannot happen. It is vibrationally not possible. It defies the laws of the universe. We're eager to visit with you about anything that is important to you. You will notice as we are moving forward here today that sometimes someone else will ask a question that you've been mulling over even better than you might ask it. And there's an advantage when that happens, because when someone else asks your question from the hot seat, you have a better chance of being in the receiving mode. When you're in the hot seat, you're usually so wrapped up in your question that you cannot fully receive it. Sometimes you can, and sometimes, to the disapproval of others in the audience, we play together long enough that you finally click into the receiving mode. Someone said to us one day, "Abraham, I really need you to talk to so-and-so because I can't get through to them." And we said, "And you think we have magical powers to defy the laws of the universe?" In other words, if somebody's not in the receiving mode, they're not in the receiving mode. They're receiving answers to what they want all day, every day. Source energy is really responding. And so our work as teachers and your work as teachers, or our work as friends or your work as friends, our and your work as those who love others and who want to help them get into the receiving mode of what they are wanting. We are soothers. We are lovers. Because you will never demand someone back into the receiving mode. You will never scold someone into this receiving mode. The way you help someone into the receiving mode is, first and foremost, you must be there. And then from your loving appreciation of who they really are, and your ability to not tell it like it is, and not see it like it is, and not talk about it like it is, but your ability to go to some virtual reality where things are as you know they want it to be, until you've practiced that thought so much that that's how you see them, that's the way you guide your life into something that pleases you more, and that's the way, the only way, that you could ever help anyone else. At Thanksgiving time, the architects who are working on some preliminary drawings for a probable new house that Jerry and Esther are contemplating brought new plans. And Jerry looked them over and looked them over and looked them over. And then he went to the property where the house is potentially to be built, and he and a few others staked it out and drew strings where the walls are, and Jerry stood in all of the rooms. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, he lived in a sort of virtual reality. Esther said, "Come back to me. Live with me here. We're having turkey." But Jerry was very happy standing in those rooms, standing in the bathroom, standing on the porches, standing under the trees, pretending that he was there, trying to feel the ambiance of the place, trying to get a sense of it, and guiding it in his mind. Working out bugs, walking through rooms, realizing a door was necessary here, realizing more light would be nice here, thinking about a skylight here, thinking about more space here, thinking about the way it all fit together and the way it would feel. He went to a virtual reality where he could make it exactly as he wanted it to be, because in the virtual reality there were no limitations. That's deliberate creating. Because when you go to a virtual space where you get to make it however you want it, and in your joyous, easy flowing of thought, you're guiding and allowing, it's like in that instant, step 1 and step 3 can be happening at the same time. And the trick within it is that you're not facing any reality that your comprehensive awareness is identifying. In other words, when you go to your virtual reality and you are putting wallpaper on the walls, you wouldn't put up ugly wallpaper first and then take it all down and put up something more beautiful, would you? You would put up beautiful wallpaper, wouldn't you?